the i4 from FlightScope, not just a rangefinder. I'll tell you what, once you do a couple minutes of work getting your yardage and then let the AI do your gapping for you, and then you get the environmental factors that give you the actual playing-like distance rather than just the point and shoot number that a typical rangefinder gives you, the confidence that comes from that is fantastic, because the effective yardage is everything. I can't tell you how many amateurs get their 150 out and they pull their 150 club, and it's not a 150 shot. It might be a 165 shot, or it might be a 135 shot. They don't know their effective yardages. So let's go play a hole. So we're on the 18th hole at the Raven. Just out of curiosity, it's like, how far are those bunkers? 234, 250 on the left. So the farthest ones, I got to be careful of that. I got to obviously play to the right of those. Those are my wheelhouse. There's some trees out there at 230. Mind you, it's a pretty open fairway, so it's just let's play it to the right center of the fairway. Do our best. So fractional pull, but it's in the fairway. Good ball. Let's go get it. So this particular hole didn't really have a carry for me to worry about. It was more about, okay, how far is the bunker out there? I don't need to carry, I just need to avoid it to the right, which I managed to do. And now we get to the green, it's a little bit more interesting. There's a little bit of breeze today, which is cool, because this picks that up. The wind's coming out of the west a little bit. And we'll go down there and we'll get an actual yardage and we'll get a effective yardage. And I'll tell you what the difference is, and it'll suggest a club. Now, for most amateurs, that suggested club may be different than just your stock number. Every time I coach, people always have their stock number. Oh, I'm 150, I'm gonna hit X. No, there's wind, or maybe you're downhill, or maybe the wind's behind you. This thing calculates all that, and it's gonna help you make better club choices and have more confidence. I'm telling you, it's a game changer for the developing golfer. Even as a former tour player, this thing's awesome because it just gives you the little nuggets between the facts. I mean, there's facts, and then there's the nuance of golf. And the nuance of golf is, what's the breeze doing? What's my elevation? Where's the wind? What's my carry number? Where's the pin? So we hit a nice shot off the tee. I probably hit it, I don't know, let's see, that was probably 265. It wasn't totally ripped, but I've got a nice little short shot into the screen. Come on in, let's check it out. So I've got a nice look at the pin, but if I was on the right side of the fairway, you can be rest assured I'd kind of aim at that rock wall and know that I had 110 carry. Now this pin number, I've got, it is actual 110, playing 107. And my wind factor is a couple of yards off. So wind's helping me a little bit. Let's hit that appropriate shot. It's going to be just a smoothie wedge, sand wedge. That's the suggested club in the I4. Take dead aim. Nice shot. I could have hit a little harder. Pin high left, maybe just a skosh short. Let's go make that putt. So the factors in this, obviously the point and shoot number. Every rangefinder will do that for you. But this one gives you the environmental factors so that you have an effective yardage. It even bakes in the wind. You just tell it which way the wind's blowing. There's a little scroll wheel in there. You just tap the mode button. You can see the slope features on. Now, if you're playing in a tournament, that red light means the slope feature's on. In tournament play, you can't have that. So that's an easy toggle. You can turn the slope feature off. And in tournament play, you have your basic point and shoot rangefinder. But when you are developing your game with the AI gapping and the club selection choices, I'm telling you, you'll have a lot of a confidence boost to make effective swings and play better golf. So I hit two pretty good shots, not gonna lie. I mean, I wish that wedge shot was a little closer, but it's what it is. From here, this is, I wish the FlightScope i4 could help me make more putts, but let's make a little putt. I like to know my distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 27 feet. 27 footer. Let's mark that. Give the ball a little clean. Let's fix this pitch mark a little bit. There we go. Little left to righter. 27 feet. Let's see this. I like my chances. Oh, you didn't. Yes, I did. I left it short. Oh, I had the line. It was rolling in nice. Let's clean this par up and get out of here. There it is. You know, the only problem with the i4, it doesn't help you putt. But I'll tell you what, it's not just a point and shoot rangefinder. It's got the effective distance that you need to hit a shot. And for most club golfers, they really don't know what that is. So it tells you what club for that environmental situation you should consider. And guess what that'll do? It'll give you more confidence. It just takes a second to do the AI gapping. And once you do that, you're going to swing with confidence, you're going to have more fun, and you're going to play better golf.
Good afternoon, and welcome to our FlightScope i4 Laser Rangefinder live webinar. Today, myself, Beck Wheeler, U.S. Sales Manager, and our founder and CEO, Henri Johnson, will guide you through a FlightScope i4 webinar. We're going to go over the vision of the i4 and where it came from. We're going to deep dive into, some of the calculations that it gives you. And then we're going to go through the FS Golf application to learn more about the LCD display and all the visuals on the i4 itself. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. To access the chat functionality, you must be subscribed to our FlightScope channel. So now I'm going to let Henri take it away. Give us the origin story, how the FlightScope i4 came to be.
Yeah, so this can go on for a very long time, but I promised myself that I'll try to keep it short. I want to start way back when I was still living in South Africa. You can clearly hear from my accent. I'm not from Alabama. And an older lady at my golf club then said to me, Henri, would you care to demonstrate FlightScope to me? And I said, of course, we're on the range. And she said, okay, so what can FlightScope do for me? And I'm like, okay, now this is going to be a challenge. And I said, well, hit a few shots and we see. And she takes a driver and she carries about 145 yards with a driver. And I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, what am I going to say now? How am I going to analyze this? And I looked at the data and I said, you know what, would you be able to hit a few more clubs, maybe your whole bag? And she said, yeah, of course. And she goes through the entire bag, hits the shots. And I gave her, at the end of the day, a little printout of her gapping session, basically the distances for each club, the variances, and so on. So that was possibly one of the first gapping sessions that I've done many years ago. And she went away and she won the club championship a few weeks after that. And she came back to me and said, you know what? I knew something that the other ladies did not. And that gave me confidence, and I beat them. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So anyway, it started there. And then a few years ago, I was on the range here at Bay Hill with Retief Goosen, and he was warming up, and he had a new FlightScope there. And we were speaking about the differences from the morning that you start through the day, and then when the sun starts setting. And he said to me, Henri, all these guys here on the range are great. They're great ball strikers, and anyone can win. And he said, but there are certain things like when I won the US Open twice, he said, I didn't hit every shot perfect, but the following shot, it was like just in a flow, it was just going well. And he said, and it was like a state of mind that I was in. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And he wanted to get his distances early in the morning, and he knew what adjustments to make throughout the day. And that kind of stuck with me until a few years ago. I was at the Riviera Club, in Los Angeles, and I was walking a practice round with Bryson DeChambeau and Tiger Woods. And here's the story. So basically, par 3, 6th hole, sun was setting. Bryson hit a 7-iron, and he looks at his caddy, and he's very upset because he's like 13 yards short, and he hits another shot, and he really bombs it this time, and he improves by about 3 yards. Tiger steps up, and he hits 6-iron, and he's on the green, but he's still short, but at least he's on the green. So there's a bit of a dispute going on there between Bryson and Tim Tucker about, so what's wrong with my data? And I thought about it, and I said, Bryson, I think I understand what's going on here, but I don't have it down yet. He said, can you figure it out? And I said, I think I can. And he said, wow, fantastic, and we kept on talking. So basically, it came down to the following, and spoiler alert, this is the final outcome, but the details are actually quite intriguing and maybe complex. It's basically about the impact of air density on your ball flight. So let's have a look here. Planning the shot. So basically, everybody knew their club distances, or so they thought. Tiger used his 6-iron, which was his 200-yard club at the time. He was short, but he was on the green, so not a big deal. So these are kind of his numbers at the time, and I stand to be corrected, but it was pretty close to that. I did research to find the data. And then Bryson also used his 200-yard club, but he fell 13 yards short. Now here's the dilemma. Tiger Woods, possibly the best or one of the best golfers of all time in my lifetime, with such a vast experience, he hits the 6-iron and he's a little short, but I'm sure he wasn't okay with that, but he didn't say much.
He's dancing.
Yes. Bryson, on the other hand, does what a normal tour player does. He blames the caddy right away because it cannot be his fault.
Never
it's impossible. Anyway, so what went wrong? So these are the numbers then, and he's beefed up, and of course he's monstering his clubs a lot now. So these are some of the figures at the time. So what made that difference? So again, Tiger Woods, he's got his 6-iron, Bryson his 7-iron, and so what's the big difference? So here's one of the fundamental parameters that I think most people might not know, is that if you look at the spin numbers on a Bryson DeChambeau 7-iron, it's typically, if you compare that to other players, it's typically at least 1,000 to 2,000 RPM higher in spin rate. That's the one thing. And he has a specific combination of ball speed, spin rate, and launch angle that together will determine how his ball is going to react in the atmosphere. Now, at the Riviera Club, at more or less sunset on that par 3, there was something in the air, literally. And it was the combination of air temperature, the local air pressure at the time, the absolute air pressure, and then the relative humidity. Now, those three components if you put it together, will basically give you what you need to calculate the air density. And there's some other things as well. I'm sure you don't want to know about it, but let's just put the term out there: kinematic viscosity. You don't have to worry about it. So what we did was then to go further and say, hey, how do we explain what happened? Because this was a motivation for me. If you bring a challenge like this, I'm not going to sleep until I find what's the cause and how we can do something about it. Okay, so I realized that with what I learned, that there could be something here for all golfers. So I'm going to switch over now to another screen, which I'm just going to show you kind of the back end of what I did. So let me just move that over here, and I promise I won't go too technical, but at least I'm just showing you an example of some of the software, and it's kind of how the planning tool developed. And this was my own version of a planning tool that I developed for my own use when I did the first presentation of the Rangefinder. So I just selected there my, hopefully, I wish I could play there one day, Augusta National. Say that's where we want to play. We're planning for that. I'm selecting a date. But in this case, for the Tiger Woods and Bryson DeChambeau case, I looked back in time to that particular day and the time slots of the day. But here you can select your time slots, you can get the weather, and it's going to give you basically those conditions. In other words, the air temperature at the time, the temperature, the air pressure, and the relative humidity, and so on. And then wind speed and wind direction. And then, okay, I'm just using a smart gapping here, but basically I imported the data for both players. In my case, I just used the smart gapping here. For me, smart gapping works well enough. I can't control the ball outside of the margins of what smart gapping can do for me for a gapping analysis. I just put my 7-iron here. For those that haven't used the smart gapping, you should try it on the app.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
Anyway, so I just said, okay, I just said here, and this is not my home course, but I said Denver, Colorado home course, and hitting 190 yards with a 7-iron, just a guess. And I calculated the gapping, and it gives me everything for all my clubs. But I can also import it from FlightScope session, or I can guess it. It's going to be better than nothing. And then you can actually say, okay, for the local course time slots that I selected, I actually will get the following. And now, for somebody with these parameters going from Denver to Augusta, the following will happen. So looking at the morning early, or you can go through these different time slots. Basically, you're going to see that, let's go to the 7-iron there. The 7-iron basically will go quite a bit shorter, like almost 20 yards, and that's early in the morning. And then basically going to 2 p.m. in the afternoon, it's changing a little bit as well. The driver is definitely going to be more significant. In this case, it's a yard, but whatever, it's just still a difference, and it might differ depending on the local conditions. Like for instance, Mexico City. And that's why Bubba Watson bought a FlightScope X3 after he saw what Bryson did at the Ryder Cup in Europe. To plan for Mexico City is quite difficult. It might be, it's very high above sea level, 7,000 something feet? But does it play at 7,000 feet effectively? And every pilot will be able to agree and tell you about this, that there's an effective air density depending on the local conditions. And you have to take that into account. If you're a pilot and you're going to take off and you have a certain runway, you need to be sure that everything works out. The speed at which you will be taking off, for the payload that you have on your plane, and so on, because there are forces involved in the aerodynamics on the airplane's wing. Similarly, with a golf ball, like Mexico City can play as if or effectively as 3,500 feet or 4,000 feet on a particular day, depending on the local air pressure, temperature, and relative humidity combination. And that is dramatic. So you could be thinking that you're going to just play at as if it's 7,000 feet, and you might get a little surprise. How good is it if you really know what it's doing?
Throughout the course of a round too, because
Yes.
a round might take 4 hours, 4.5, 5 hours, and 5 hours is a long time for it to change throughout the course of that round.
When I played behind you, I had that feeling. Anyway, so these are the kind of calculations that I did on the back end to determine what happened at the time. So the instantaneous or the instant aerodynamics calculation we now do for you on the i4 rangefinder. So if you have your gapping session recorded, or just doing a smart gapping, and you select a target, and he's going to talk about it a little bit more now, you're going to get two things. You're going to get your direct distance, and you're going to get your effective distance for you, for now. And that's huge. So in other words, if during the practice round at the Rivera Club with Bryson and Tiger, if we had the i4 rangefinder there, maybe for the first time, it would have been great. It would have indicated for Bryson what he should have done. And I think if you see it the first time, you'll think, whoa, this can't be. But once you start to get the confidence that this instrument, it is the truth. It's a ground truth. It basically gives you physics calculations. And once you get the confidence, hey, guess what? Confidence breeds
success.
Confidence, which leads to success, absolutely. So, how do you maximize your user experience here? And Beck will go into the more detail
I
there.
will.
And maybe we can switch over to Beck to talk a little bit about the app, because I would like him to dig into a little bit into the smart gapping tool.
Yes. So once you purchase your i4 laser rangefinder, you're going to connect to it via Bluetooth through your FS Golf application. So that is going to be your iPad, most likely your cell phone, because you'll have your cell phone with you at the course, either in your pocket, your golf bag, in your cart. A couple quick setting things. We just want to allow our location services. We want Bluetooth to be enabled on that cellular device, and it's going to connect automatically to your laser rangefinder by pressing the power button, holding the power button, and pressing the mode button. That'll connect Bluetooth to your FS Golf application. So now I'm going to jump over, give you a screen share of the FS Golf application and what you'll see as you connect to your rangefinder. So from the home page, we're going to select rangefinder there. You're going to see that I am connected via Bluetooth to the i4 serial number here. And in here we have my club data, your home course, and weather details. So these are three very important aspects to what Henri alluded to earlier. You need to know your own launch data, your own personal characteristics of your ball flight, your home course where you play most of your rounds, and the local weather conditions for that day. So to get into my club data and the smart gapping, we have three different ways to gather that data or import it. So the first one being the smart gapping. So this is going to let AI fill in the missing data based on a carry distance for one or more clubs that you choose. So I'm going to start a smart gapping session. We're going to enter a carry distance. You can also enter your launch data if you prefer. And then you're going to select your launch angle and your spin, whether it's low, normal, or high spin for each individual club. For this exercise, I'm going to keep it at normal launch and normal spin. I'm going to click next, and it's going to populate a carry distance for your 7-iron. So I'm going to enter my carry distance at 164 yards. Henry, we've talked about this in the past. It's good to start with the 7-iron. We don't just want to enter a carry distance for your sand wedge.
Fringe effects, yeah.
Or your driver per se. You can include those as well. So if you want more accuracy, add another club. So I'm going to go in, and I have my 7-iron there. I'm in my bag.
Can I just say something?
Of course.
This is for your home location. So we're calculating this gapping session for your home location, because that's very important when you transfer now to another location for getting the weather accounted for.
Correct. So in this next step, it's going to ask you to select all the clubs in your bag. So if you don't play a 5-wood, no problem. We just uncheck that, and you play a 7-wood, so we'll highlight that. This is important, so for later on in the LCD display, it'll give you a personalized club recommendation based on these distances. So driver, good, 3-wood, 7-wood, and then 4-through lob wedge. That's perfect. That's what I'm playing in my bag. We're going to generate the report, and now you can see that the smart gapping session has populated carry distances, ball speed, spin rates, and vertical launch for every club throughout my bag. So we're going to save those averages. You can save it as, today's date, which is, automatically populated there. We're going to confirm. And if we're going to use this data that I did for smart gapping in my I4 session, I'm just going to use that smart gapping tool there. You can also choose a gapping session, or you can start a new one. If you own a FlightScope launch monitor, you can actually start a new gapping session and go through all the clubs in your bag to create that report. A little bit more fine-tuned, if you would say.
And maybe just for that, because I know this question will come up at some point in time, is do I do this on a range or do I do this in a net? My recommendation would be do it in a net so you can recover the balls that you play with, because it's very important to try and use the balls that you play with in order to get basically just the 3 things: your ball speed, your launch angle, and your spin. Those are the most important for this purpose, and therefore it will be better if you use the balls that you actually play with.
Yeah, if you try and do a gapping session with beat up range balls, your ball speed and your spin numbers are going to be drastically, different than the premium golf ball that you use in your rounds. So 2 other ways to get your club data. We talked about the smart gapping feature. We talked about the gapping session with your FlightScope launch monitor, and you can also import a CSV file through the FS Golf PC application as well. So you can import that CSV directly, upload it here, and then it'll use that club data for your club recommendation.
So should you only use FlightScope data, or can you use data from other devices as well?
You can use other devices as well. If your coach, has another launch monitor technology, you can use those numbers and enter them here, either in the smart gapping or in the CSV upload function.
So, in fact, I want to go further and say that for somebody that doesn't use technology and that really doesn't know how far do I hit my clubs, even if you take a shall we say, educated guess of one club, say your 6 or a 7-iron, you're going to be still better off than basically not having that and trying to figure out what my shot will be doing today. So even if you have a guess that is reasonable, and you do a smart gapping session and you use the i4 rangefinder, because the local weather conditions might just govern your ball flight in a way that you didn't expect. Therefore, you can be like estimate, or you could be very specific and use a FlightScope and get your data and put it in there if you can control the ball to that detail. Now, here's my advice. I'm like an 8 handicap golfer now. A few years ago when I still played once a week, now I play 4 times a year. Then even so, I can't control the ball to the degree where it's going to really make a difference for me whether I use exact numbers from the FlightScope or whether I just do the gapping session. In fact, the gapping session I've tested with quite a few tour players like Retief Goosen and a few others, and they were shocked about how representative it was even for their swings. But if you're a Bryson DeChambeau and you've got a single length club or set of irons, don't use smart gapping because the physics, just doesn't work for that. Why? Because it's just so different. The loft and everything else, the weighting of the clubs, it's just so different. So don't try smart gapping if you have single length clubs. Then you actually have to get your data for your clubs.
Next in this I4 screen here, we have our home course. So, you have your home course selected. So this is where you play most often, where you're most familiar with your carry distances. You can easily add and delete home courses if you move across the country. And those are, able to be inputted very easily in there as well. You also have the weather details in here. So the last update occurred here. I'm checking my watch. It's 1:35 p.m. So I have auto update on. So the weather will automatically update with this checkbox enabled here throughout the course of your round. So as we talked about earlier, over the course of a 4 or 5 hour round, the weather can change, especially from early morning to mid-morning or afternoon to early evening, late night. So we do want to have that auto update enabled. And then here it's pulling the local weather conditions from your local weather tower. And it's going to give you the wind speed, the temperature, humidity, altitude. In this app, we're not trying to overload you with all the other weather details that Henri alluded to earlier that affect your ball flight. So as you can tell in the top right-hand corner, you can see that the green check mark is enabled. So that means I am connected via Bluetooth to my i4 rangefinder. You'll see the red box that says disconnected. That is for your FlightScope launch monitor. So don't worry about that saying disconnected. Right now we're not connected to a Mevo Plus or Mevo Gen 2 X3C, but we are connected to the i4 right there in the app. So important couple quick things to talk about. We have Bluetooth capabilities, so we want to keep that Bluetooth device, your cellular device, your phone, within 10 to 12 feet of the i4 rangefinder. When you start going outside of that, 30, 40, 50 feet away, you will lose Bluetooth connection.
The laser will work, but the effective distance won't be calculated because we're losing the connection to the rangefinder. And I've done it a few times. So what I do now is just to put my phone in my pocket, and that's the least of my problems because I want to see those distances. It gives me just that confidence, at least. Even if I can't execute so well, I still feel good about it.
Yeah. So also with the Bluetooth connection, you can see on the i4 rangefinder, the red light is illuminated. So in this case, because I'm connected, I am in FS mode. We can easily turn that off. So it's just a direct distance tournament mode. So it's not giving you, any slope compensated values. It's just a direct distance from point A to point B. It is also worth noting that when you're using this in FS mode, it will automatically, the Bluetooth will disconnect after exactly 5 minutes of no triggers or distances. That's not a problem. Don't worry. Even if your phone is asleep, just have FS Golf running in the background. Simply press the power button one time and it'll automatically connect. This connection takes less than a second to reestablish that Bluetooth connection. So kind of the way I think about it, when I hit a drive, hopefully in the middle of the fairway, it might be 5, 10, 15 minutes since the last time I used this on the previous fairway of the previous hole. So in my cart, I'll simply just tap the power button one time, reestablish that Bluetooth connection. By the time I pull up to my ball, I'm ready, to shoot in FS mode. Now we're going to get into what you actually see inside the LCD display of the i4 laser rangefinder. So starting with FS mode, this is enabled when you are connected to Bluetooth and connected within the application. So this combines the effective plane distance, personalized club recommendations, local weather and environment conditions, to elevate your strategy throughout the round. Next, on the LCD display at the bottom, kind of middle of the screen, you'll have your direct distance to the target. So that is from where you are to the exact distance of the target that you're shooting. If you're shooting a flag, you do want to hold the power button and it'll automatically capture that and lock onto that target. Next, if you move over, we have the slope number. So that'll be displayed as negative or positive yards or meters. You'll have the slope indicator light there adjusting for positive slope or negative slope. And then this is one of the best features of the FlightScope i4 rangefinder. It's the user selectable wind direction that's paired with real-time wind speeds from the local weather stations. So we're automatically pulling in the wind speed, but with the i4, after you take a measurement, you need to tell the i4 where the wind is coming from.
Yeah, so into your face or from behind or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. So after you take a measurement in FS mode, you will hit the mode button one time to activate the wind direction. So activating it one time, you're going to see a down arrow at 12 o'clock. That means the wind is coming into you. As you continue to slowly press the mode button, those wind directions will calculate like a clock. It'll go from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock being helping wind behind you, to 7 to 9, and then ultimately back to 12. So while you're changing the wind direction, your effective plane distance is going to change. And I think most golfers understand that helping wind versus hurting wind and what it's going to do to their carry distances.
Maybe just an interesting thing there. I'd like you in the comments to the YouTube there to maybe tell us what's your experience in terms of a headwind or a wind that's helping you for a similar shot. So what would you say? Do you get exactly the same effect if you lose, say, 10 yards into the wind for this specific shot, and now the wind's blowing from behind? Are you going to gain 10 yards? Or what do you think that is? I'd like to see your comments.
As we work our way through the graphic here, we have the pin detection indicator. So to use that, you're just going to hold the power button as you take a measurement. And once you lock onto that target, you'll get a nice solid vibration in the i4, letting you know that you locked onto your target that you're shooting. Next, we have the effective plane distance. So this number is likely going to be either drastically different or minorly different than the direct distance to the target. So Henry, I want you just to explain the effective plane distance just a little bit more. You don't have to go too deep, but just what it is and why it's useful.
All right, so effective distance for you might be different than effective distance for me. Like it was when we saw Tiger Woods and Bryson playing the same hole, with the weather conditions prevailing then, how their different ball flights were influenced by the air density, it was just totally different. And therefore, your effective distance is calculated for your ball flight. Now, for the distance that you saw on your direct distance with an i4 rangefinder, but it gets even better. We go through all the clubs and the trajectories, and we look for the intersects because there might be a slope difference, in other words, a height difference. So this is not just a slope adjustment. Basically, we do a best match of all the trajectories based on your specific launch conditions, running through your whole bag, and we basically look for the best intersects before we give you a recommendation for a club. And so your effective distance is calculated from this whole bunch of stuff which you don't have to worry about. I've done the worrying already, so spare yourself that trouble. But basically, we calculate an effective distance for you now. And now, I have to say something about the wind. Maybe it's a little story. I was with Alex Trujillo, we were done with Bernard Langer at Boca Raton some time ago, and I was just discussing this with him while I was developing the rangefinder, and he was intrigued by the whole ball flight and how that's affected. And then we spoke about, and did you know we also are doing the wind compensation? And he said, I'll use the range compensation, but I'll never use the wind. And he immediately said why. He said, I've been playing golf for 55 years or whatever he said. I can't remember the exact number, but a long time. And he said, I know from experience, just throwing out a few leaves or some grass, I can gauge what the wind's going to do for me now. But he said, what I can't say, what I don't know is what the air density now is going to do to my ball flight. So anyway, but the human brain is amazing. Once you start using the laser rangefinder, by believing or trusting the effective distance for you, you're going to learn how all things come together, and you're going to actually go on autopilot in terms of your confidence, your ability to execute, and understanding why this is what it is in terms of the effective distance. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, completely. And the effective plane distance can increase or decrease dramatically. If you have a direct distance on a par 3, it's 170 yards to the hole. Depending on the wind speed and direction, all the environment factors, that 170 yard shot can play 205 yards, or it could play 140 yards.
What's that hole at Pebble Beach, that par 3 going down?
Number 7, downhill.
So those that have played it or heard about it, I played with Mike Shai. Was a wonderful experience because he played there as a junior, and he told me that some days you'd hit your sandwich into the ocean, and other days your 4-iron doesn't reach the green. and now this is wind, and of course there's air density as well, but the wind is dramatic. So I get the question about the wind. So you get the wind from the local weather station. How does it influence me here? Hey, even if you measured the wind here, it's not the wind up there, and it's definitely not the wind down there where the target is. And we saw this at Riviera as well. Again, a particular hole, I can't remember the number, but basically a par 3, it went, or even a par 3 or par 4, no, it's par 4, and the wind tunnels through. And if you don't pay attention to the flag in terms of what the wind's doing there, you would stand here and feel, there's no wind. And boy, when that ball starts to hit that channel, it's havoc. It just dumps the ball right there. So wind is extremely non-linear, and it gives you an indication, and it's good to learn from. I would say if there's heavy wind around, just be careful, because wind can be your biggest enemy in a golf game.
it can give you a good indication of clubbing up or clubbing down.
Yes, and I would say that's it. I wouldn't go beyond that, because wind is so dynamic in how it changes with the environment. I'm very careful with wind.
Okay. And lastly, on the LCD display inside the i4 rangefinder, you'll get a personalized club recommendation. So this is going to appear at 12 o'clock. And based on your smart gapping or gapping session or uploading a CSV, it's going to give you that club recommendation to use for that shot based on the effective plane distance. So it is worth noting that your, club recommendation on a certain hole is going to be different from mine because of my launch characteristics, even though we're, using two i4s. The club gapping is going to be, what gives you that personalized club recommendation in there. So some more just minor, housekeeping and buttons. I'm going to go over the i4 itself and the hardware that you can see. Nice FlightScope shield logo on the outside. On the reverse side, you do have a magnetic hold to put onto your golf cart, onto your golf bag, etc. It does have a magnification, zoom in, zoom out, 6-time magnification.
But it's more a focus.
But it'll also help you zoom in to a farther distance. On the top here, we have the power button, we have a mode button, and the slope indicator light. So fresh out of the box, to power it on, you're just going to press the power button one time. To turn Bluetooth on or off, which we talked about, you're going to hold the power button and press the mode button. Now you can see the slope indicator light is disabled. That means I'm just in a direct distance mode there. If you want to use a slope compensated value but no FlightScope mode, that's easily enabled by just pressing the mode button one time. So now you'll get a slope compensated distance. If you want to change from yards to meters or meters to yards, you will hold down that mode button. When you're playing in tournament mode, just using direct distance A to B, the slope indicator light will not illuminate. If you have slope enabled, it will illuminate, and when you're using FlightScope mode, it will illuminate as well. It does have a USB-C charger right here below charging port, right here below. So we estimate the battery life to be 15,000 clicks on the i4 itself. So if you're averaging, say 4 clicks per hole, 18 holes around, at 72 clicks per round, you're upwards of 205, 210 total rounds if you're averaging 4 clicks per hole that this i4 battery life will last. As with all things, it's important to keep your things charged and be ready to go, but long are the days of having to replace your battery as you're making your way to the first tee box.
Or the battery started leaking and then it's damaged anyway. So this is very nice to have a rechargeable system like this.
And a lot of golf carts nowadays do have that USB-C connection right there. You can, if you forget to charge it, plug it in for 20 minutes while you go warm up on the range and give yourself some more battery. So now I think we're going to get into a little bit of a Q&A. I know we have received some questions throughout. Maybe Henri wants to mention a few more things here.
Yes,
so
I think so. So maybe let's just ask our producer there to go through to my screen. I just wanted to basically show you something, and so producer, just give us a heads up if we're all good.
We're good to go.
Good. So we are going to release a new FlightScope Golf app around about 10th of November. And we are keen to see what the YouTubers out there are going to do with the following. So what we are doing, and I'm going to play this video that was taken this morning, actually in Stellenbosch, South Africa, and they just sent it to me, and see if you can see what happens here. That's a tracer mode, the AR tracer, and I'm not sure if you saw what happened there. Okay, I'm going to play it again. Sorry. Okay, and I'm just going to stop there.
I see it.
So, yep, you see it. So top left corner, and you can place it. This is a data element, and that data element is actually the view of the rangefinder. So here's the workflow. So you want to show off to your buddies. Men like to do that.
Always.
So you're on the range or whatever, or even sneak in your FlightScope there, and you want to take a video on the course, and you take your rangefinder, you shoot, and it's connected to your app, and now you put it into the tracer mode, take a video clip, and the rangefinder view is one of the data elements that you can populate your video with. You can select, of course, the other data elements as you want, but the rangefinder view is now like an additional data element for viewing afterwards. It's nice because there you could see, okay, my direct distance was whatever, 160 yards or so, but the effective distance might be more or less, and now I chose a certain club, and this is what I got. And you do your flips or whatever you want on social media, as people do these days, but it's just a feature, I think, which is pretty nice. And then also in the app, one of the screens will be that you can actually click on the rangefinder view on your app, and you will see what goes on here. So if you click there, it's going to be big and bright on your FlightScope range or your FlightScope app. And
awesome.
Then lastly, I just wanted to find out, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to find out what you all think about that, and maybe you have some suggestions. We'd love to hear that. And then I would like to hear what you say about the following. What about this? Would you like something like that?
Volcano.
or whatever
eruption.
You choose. Yeah, whatever you choose. So that was just an indoor shot from one of our support guys in Poland. But I mean, so yeah, what do you think about that? If you have any comments or recommendations, let us know. Okay, over to Beck.
Alrighty, a couple questions here that we've received previously through the sign-up form, some that have been asked live here in the webinar. So I'll just go over a few quickly. How far does the rangefinder read? So it's going to give you a distance up to 1,000 yard range to the target. So don't think too many holes or more than 1,000 yards, but it will read up to 1,000 yards to the target. This question's for Henri. What's the best way to use smart gapping?
All right, so I would always say that smart gapping is for somebody like me with an 8 handicap, or I'm not that good, so my control isn't like within a yard or two on any club really. If you look at my spread on my clubs, I'm very happy if I hit the green. I feel very very good when I do that. So smart gapping, I would recommend starting with one of your mid clubs, like a 7 or a 6 iron, whatever you feel comfortable with. You might have a club that you really think this is like in the mid clubs, mid irons, that you believe this is my club that I'm the most consistent with. And if you know that carry distance, or have it measured, or you measure it, or you guess it, you can put that into the smart gapping, and everything from there should be better. Now, you will learn something about the smart gapping, and I see we are running out of time here. Not yet? Okay. So the smart gapping will show you most likely two things if you are not that good with your long irons, and maybe with your short irons as well. And here's the thing. There's something that I call the point of breakdown, and that's why they developed, hybrids. Mm-hmm. So many people that I know just don't play 4 iron, 3 iron, because they don't hit them so well. In fact, the 4 iron might go the same distance as a 6 iron, and that means that you've hit a wall. So, and that's the breakdown, the point of breakdown in your long irons. And it's quite important to look at your smart gapping, because that's going to tell you what you should be able to do if you had, shall we say, a near perfect spacing when you're gapping with your whole bag. And you will also see your potential for a 3-wood, long irons, and your driver especially. I know a lot of amateurs that cannot hit their driver at full potential because their kinematic sequence most likely doesn't allow it at that time. And that's something that is good as an indicator of what I'm capable of potentially. I mean, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is, with wedges, I've seen so many people, and I was there myself, where I would use a sand wedge and I just don't get the right distance with it. I drop it a little right and shorter than I should. Guess what? Dynamic loft at impact is way too high, and there are many reasons for that. Again, some kinematic sequence problem, and even if you know even if you know the parameters, it's not easy to get it right unless you have a good coach. And some self-awareness and discipline to do it. But so the smart gapping, I would say, start with a mid-iron that you really trust, and the values should be very good. If you are a very low handicap golfer or a professional, of course, hit into a net and get your launch parameters and put it in either via import or directly from your session. That's the way I would go.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. The next question I have is, how many rounds will the i4 last on a single charge? So it briefly touched on this earlier. We estimate it to be 15,000 clicks. So that's, a click on the power button, a click on the mode button. That counts as, 2 individual clicks. As always, you wouldn't leave your cell phone without battery. So just, after a few rounds, after a month or 2, just plug it in, give it a full charge. There's a green indicator light within the USB-C connection there that'll show you when it's fully charged.
I haven't played a lot of golf, so since December I haven't charged mine.
And I bet it still has
it's fine.
Good
it's
battery.
Full, yeah.
Next question, how long does it take to charge the i4? 2 hours estimated charge time to go from 0, 5% all the way up to 100%. So relatively quick charging time. Just, as always, be precautious and put it on charge the night before your round, especially, if you have a big weekend of golf planned. The next question, if I'm playing in a tournament, how do I use FlightScope mode and slope? How do I turn off FlightScope mode and slope? So you want to, first and foremost, just turn off Bluetooth on your phone to be safe. Just completely disable Bluetooth connections for anything on your phone. Next, you want to turn Bluetooth off on your i4. So you would press the power button, hold it down, and then click the mode button. That will turn off.
It'll toggle, basically. If you click it again, it'll toggle, yeah.
Exactly. And then to turn off the slope for tournament mode, press and hold the mode button there.
Alone.
Yes, by itself. Excuse me, just press it. Holding it will change it from yards to meters and vice versa. How does the i4 compare to other rangefinders?
I have an answer for you. So we had somebody that was previously a very senior person in Bushnell, at Bushnell, and he was so kind, he offered to test the i4. He was keen to test it, and he gave us a complete report on how it compared to the best of Bushnell, and he was shocked about how consistent and accurate it was, and he said he actually preferred, just the way that this laser works, so the i4, and how quickly it locks onto the target, everything. So he was very impressed with it. In fact, and that he didn't even get to the effective distance. He was just using it in direct mode, which we're not a laser company, and I think we did a pretty good job with this laser rangefinder. But again, our reasoning was not to try and make a rangefinder. We wanted to make a personal caddy that really understands air density, how that influences your ball flight. And as I say, it was inspired through that amazing experience with Bryson DeChambeau and Tiger Woods at the Rivera Club, which was intriguing, and I had to understand it. And yeah, that's how it compares.
Great. So in closing here today, knowledge is power. The i4 is designed to eliminate any doubt that you have in your golfing abilities or the distance to your target and what you're gonna, where you're aiming to go. Thank you all for attending today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all other social media platforms. We appreciate you coming out today, and thank you. And next week we also have a Golf Live live webinar as well. So we will be going over the Golf Live platform where you can use your Mevo Plus to get a virtual lesson from a golf instructor, and they will be able to review your Mevo Plus data anywhere in the world live by watching your swing. So
from Beck and myself, Henry, thank you very much for attending. We appreciate your support, your interest, and we are very keen to see some recommendations, some ideas from you all. Please post it down in the comments below. We do read those, and you might be a lucky one that your recommendation might actually find its way to our apps and products, but also do some interesting things on YouTube, other channels maybe. Use your FlightScope i4 rangefinder and give us some interesting posts there. You never know. All the best.
thank you.
Okay.